Spiral throwers, welcome back. We are mudding, prepping, whatever, a ball, and we're going to be answering some questions along the way. A lot of comments last little while, a lot of emails, a lot of DMs, a lot of balls prepped. Probably next time I buy leather honey, I should buy a big bottle. But to be honest with you, I feel like I have more or less mastered this process and don't use really too much of any one ingredient. So I'm still using the same bottle of Lexol as I was months ago. I've had to go through a couple of little bottles of leather honey, but that's really more a skill issue on my part. You can see here I just made some fresh mud, well, fresh-ish anyway, for this ball, for this break-in. And I thought, you know what? I'll make a video about this ball, F2000 painted stripes. Great ball. Love this ball. And I'll do some Q&A along the way. So you can see here, I'm not taping stripes, not taping laces, nothing like that. This is pretty easy to get clean afterward if you really take some time to do it. I only used a rag, I think, on this one. I don't remember exactly what I ended up doing with this ball, but sometimes I use a brush, sometimes I use a rag. Depends on how I feel, what else I got going on. But the result's always pretty much the same. So let's talk about some of the comments and questions I get. I have been asked it. Well, I shouldn't say I've been asking. I've been asked by a number of people over the last year or so. Why can't we arrange pickups and drop-offs anywhere else besides the few places? Like, why am I not willing to drive out to meet people in Hamilton and Burlington and other places? Like, can we meet up during the week? I'll tell you why. Okay, I have a job, a full-time job. I have a podcast as well that's very, very time-consuming and growing every day. And I have a daughter and a wife, and so I don't plan on extending myself too much to mud footballs. I'm happy to do it nearby, and I think also that really drives business to Litson's up in Oakfield, which I like as well. They've been a great partner. They always have this stuff available when I need a new ball that one of you guys wants to get mudded. Don't forget, you can just go buy your balls at Litson's too if you don't want me to pick it up or you'd rather see the ball for yourself. I'm not opposed to that. No big deal. No big deal. Price doesn't change. Nothing changes. So that's one question I've heard a lot. The other question I've heard a lot is, why does it take so long to do the break-ins? I don't know that it takes that long. I think 3 days is pretty standard, honestly. You got to think, for me, like if I think about this ball, for example, just to help you sort of put some leather to the process. You get this ball on, let's say, during your lunch hour. Like some of you guys we meet at my office for drop-offs. If I'm there, it's not a big deal for me. It's in the west end of Hamilton. So I might get that ball at noon. I get it home by 3. I brush it for a bit just to get things started, and then the leather honey takes 24 hours to really soak into the ball and be ready for the next step, which is the one you're seeing now, the mudding process. So for me, like that first day, you might get me to start by 3 or 4 if I get lucky, but most of the time it's a little after that, and I come home and I want to see my wife and daughter too. So that 3 days really does also ensure that the process is properly done. Think about it from my point of view. It's easier for me to keep the ball for 3 days instead of 2 days or 1 day or whatever, and make sure that when I give it back to you, it's something that you like throwing and you can maintain and whatever else, as opposed to me trying to rush it. And then, as I've heard from some of you guys, the process is difficult to mirror if you don't spend the time. So we'll talk about that as well. Obviously, some of the questions and problems you guys have had over the last little while. Keep your DMs coming, keep your questions coming, emails. I'm happy to answer them. It might take me a little longer than it used to, but all the same, I want to make sure everyone's got access to a good ball for a good price and has a chance to do it themselves if they want. The other few questions here that I want to answer, just a specific one that I keep on getting a comment from. There's like a bunch of people who just leave hater comments on the channel, which is funny. I guess it's a sign that you're at least getting views. There's one comment in particular I hear pretty often about mink oil, and I like to finish the balls with mink oil, although I didn't finish this one with mink oil. We'll talk a bit about that after. The mink oil is not bad for leather, and I know this one fella, I can't remember his name, was saying that it'll ruin a ball to do mink oil. You shouldn't do this with a ball. Don't send this guy your ball. I mean, you don't have to send me your ball regardless. The videos are on there. You can just try and do the process yourself. It's all free. The mink oil does a few things. One, it kind of locks in some of that sticky wax if you'd like to use in the tack bar. I don't use tack bar too much on the balls anymore, mostly because I think a lot of you guys are like me. And if I give you the option, you know, there are some things on the margins you can do differently ball to ball, and tack bar and mink oil at the end is really one of them. So for me now, I prefer a ball that's soft but not too sticky. I have sweaty hands when I throw, and you know, even though I'm not playing at the moment, I can still feel when I pick up a ball, when I'm done with it, whether or not that stickiness is going to be too much, or it's going to be annoying, or you're going to find yourself in need of a towel during the game. This may not matter to you, but it matters to me. And I think at the end of the day, for me as the guy doing the work, it's better if I just give you a ball that's ready for additional preference work. So think about if you want to use tack bar, you want to use sticky bar, you want to use whatever, you can do that on the ball that I give you, and the ball will still be ready to throw and play with and all that. So yeah, the mink oil step does lock in some of that wax, and also softens the ball and preserves it. Mink oil is great. I've been a boot guy for a long time. I don't mean like Aldo boots or YSL boots. Like, those boots are shit. I mean like Goodyear welted boots, Red Wings, Hart, Rancourt. I got a few other pairs over the years, and to preserve that leather, you really do want to have a little bit of mink oil on there from time to time. It's a good, like I said, way to keep moisture out and prevent the leather from getting damaged by the elements. And it is winter here in Canada, and you guys are playing outside in some cases, which is unbelievable. I'm getting requests for balls that have specific winterized break-ins. You know, bad news, I don't know how to do that, but I think if I was going to do it, mink oil would play a role. Also, it gives it a bit of a nice gentle stickiness, which I like myself on my own balls, and maybe you'll like on yours too. But as always, if you don't want that as part of the process, just let me know. It's pretty easy to get rid of anyway. You just kind of play with it once, and that feeling will go away. So that's been one comment I get from one person all the time. The other one I get is about the white stripes. You know, why are you cleaning the white stripes with leather conditioner? Leather conditioner doesn't soak into the painted stripe or the composite stripe. That is true. But the reason I use it is because I feel like you have to basically pick between 3 ways to clean the stripes in a lot of cases. One is dry. So you can use a rag that has nothing on it and try and clean the dirt from this process off of the stripes. That works, but it will damage the paint. And I also find that it damages the composite stripe sometimes, which I don't want to do. So I go to one of 2 other options. One is a little bit of warm water, which is fine, but water and leather don't get along. And no matter how careful you are, you will invariably get some water on the ball. And then the third option is just a little touch of Lexol. It's just a little lubrication, right? To help you glide on the painted stripe or the composite stripe and take some dirt off during the process. I think those are the easiest ways to do it. You know, you're welcome to do anything you like, but for me, I prefer that method. And then obviously you're going to get some of the mud off the ball as well during this part of the process. You see now the extra dirt, you know, stuff you couldn't brush off, extra mud, wiping process, which is pretty straightforward. You can imagine how that might happen. Let me just go to my phone here. What other questions do I get here? How long to leave everything on? I can't believe I'm still getting this question. It feels like I say this more than almost anything else. I leave everything on for about a day. The only thing I don't leave for 24 hours is this step here, because there's just not that much leather conditioner, and by the time you're done wiping, you've taken probably a little bit of conditioner off on the rag as well. So this is just a few hours of waiting, and it's pretty easy to tell when it's ready after this step. But for the mud and for the leather honey especially, leave it, man. I know guys like Gio, you know, he muds basically while his ball is still looking shiny, and I can't say that it works or doesn't work. I've never used one of his balls, but people seem to like his product, so maybe he's doing something a little differently that also works. For me, this is what I prefer, and it's been good so far as far as feel and even color. I think it helps to have everything separate in the process so that you get a good look at what each step does, number one, and maybe most importantly, what each step doesn't do. So if you think the conditioner is not going to darken the mud or darken the ball, I should say. You're going to find that the conditioner does in fact take a few shades of pink off the ball, and you find yourself with a darker ball a day later. Now, how are you going to know how much darker the ball got from the conditioner if before the conditioner soaks in, you start mudding? You won't. And maybe that doesn't matter to you, but what I would say matters is the feel of the ball after the conditioning step. Because if you start mudding and conditioning at the same time and you're not happy with the outcome, the feel of the ball, then how are you going to know which step was the cause? Like, what was the culprit in that process? It's harder to say. So for me, I like to let stuff sit. I've heard guys say you can get heat guns and put stuff in, like the ball dryer you've probably seen on Instagram. There's a lot of gimmicks out there. Some of them might work, some of them might not. I really can't say one way or the other because I've not tried them. But for me, like, I might do a dozen balls, let's say, over the course of a month or a month and a half. And so for me to just leave a ball, like there's a closet behind me here in the video where most of the balls are, and they just sit in there in between the steps. Like, it's really not much in terms of space, although my wife may say differently. But the overall lesson is just take your time. Don't rush anything. The leather is not going anywhere. The ball's not going anywhere. And you're really not going to save that much time anyway. You might save like a day on the process, but the risk is just so much greater. At least that's what I've found. So you're not going to catch me speeding everything up just to fix the time element to this and try and make it shorter. I've heard a couple of questions about shaving cream the last little while. Why am I not using shaving cream? Honestly, I just don't think you need to. Like, I can't explain any more than I already have, but I'll try. When I made this channel originally and left that poor Omega review, two guys from Wilson reached out to me who I won't name, but one of them is well known in the ball prep community. All the other guys that do prep that I talk to know this guy. And him and his colleague there from the vendor from which I purchased the Omega both said the same thing, that the Wilson balls ship with extra wax and tack that's not meant to be brushed off the ball. It's meant to be brushed into the ball, into the leather. It's meant to help the leather and develop the leather and add playability and pliability to the leather, which I think is obvious. Like, it's a commercial product, like I always say, a retail product. So, mom and dad are not going to put shaving cream on their ball for little Johnny. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And again, the risk is great if you don't know the process and don't watch the videos. The other thing I'll mention is that, what do you hear about the shaving cream every time it's used? We got to get the dye off the ball. Why? There's no extra dye. The leather is a certain color. It's treated a certain way. This is an expensive process and an expensive ball. Just from first principles, consider whether or not Wilson would ever think of sending a ball out that needed shaving cream put on it to be playable. I don't know what to tell you if you think that's the case, but you can always ask Wilson yourself, call them and see what they say. They may say that people do it, but I bet you they will tell you the same thing they told me, that it is not recommended and certainly not necessary. So keep the shaving cream for your face. And then maybe the last question I'll tackle here before I just let the lo-fi spin the rest of the video. Why doesn't my mud work? I gotta be honest with you, boys. I don't know what to tell you. My mud in my backyard is good. It just is the right mix of stuff. You can use ChatGPT or one of these other AI bots to find out, what is in Lena Blackburn mud. It's high biological content, among other things. But at the end of the day, I continue to believe that you just don't need expensive mud. You can do it yourself, because when you play with your ball, you're not playing with it on the riverbanks of some secret Ohio river. You are playing with it in the park. And so I would say that if the mud doesn't work, maybe just take a little more water out, add a little more leather conditioner, but also just be patient. See what you can change. I wanted to mention one other thing because I did use two new products in this video. Kev, I think his name is Kevin, sent me some stuff on the house, so I didn't pay for this. A tacky bar, new formula tacky bar, and something called I think it's called tacky something. I wish I could remember the name, but you'll see it in the video here. I'll pull it up. Two products from him that I think I'm going to use in the processes from now on, because like I mentioned before, the one thing I don't like about the Wilson bar is that it's quite sticky and doesn't really do anything else except get annoying when your hands are wet. This bar is a little bit of a conditioner and a little bit of tack as well. And then as you'll see in a second, there's also a little tin of Balm, that's the word I was looking for. God, there was a time when I would have known that, you know. This balm also, I think, is a nice finish and some extra stick. So you see me doing the same thing I did with the mink oil. The reason that balm looks like it's used is because I used it on every single ball that I have. It's that good. I recommend people pick this up. And as you can see, I just do a quick coat, let it sink into the ball. Now, Kevin from Tacky Bar says he's also used it as a precursor to the mud, which I don't know, you could, I guess, but I didn't do it. And you'll notice as well that I'm not using a Wilson brush to brush this in. I find that the balms and even his bar are better to brush in with the horsehair brush because you get an even coat. And if you just are letting it be absorbed by the leather, which you should, then you don't really need to use the Wilson brush to grit and grate and heat up the leather as part of that process. For me, I just let it sit, do the wax, do the tack with his stuff, and go from there. It's really good, actually. I haven't really changed my process much at all over the last year. You know, a couple things I may do for a little. I may do a little differently, but broadly, it's just really more of a quantity thing than it is a change in process. So maybe a little less leather conditioner, a little less mud, a little less, you know, because you just don't need as much as I shouldn't say as much as you thought, but as much as I thought early on. And so I've changed the process there a little bit, but this stuff's good. I'm going to use this when I go back to playing. I'm about 4 months removed from ACL surgery, starting to do some jogging here. Got the squat up to almost 2 wheels, so we're making progress. But I missed the game, guys. I missed the game. But I gotta tell you, having the ball break-in business and the channel and getting questions from you guys and seeing some of you guys want to start doing the same thing in your area, I'm all for it. If I can help you get it off the ground, I will help you get it off the ground for sure. Anyway, that's it for me. I'll let the lo-fi take you out. And as always, hit me up if you got questions, comments, concerns. And if you want a ball done, Dundas Valley Prep on Instagram. See you next time.